the when you engage, it depends, of course, on the industry, because I represent an organization which is quite big. We have 7 different schools and 25,000 students and 2,500 colleagues. And even though they are separate units, they are all supposed to be one company. But of course, this is not the case. If you have 7 different cities in Holland, even those cities may have a different culture. So when you go to the north to Alkmaar, it's like a rural area. But in Amsterdam is a big city. Rotterdam is again a totally different town from Amsterdam. So even these 3 locations, they have their own culture. And Rotterdam, for example, might be associated with working class people, and the Amsterdam majority of people may be considered as young urban professionals who are very intellectual and art-like. And in Alkmaar up north, then you will find a rural area with people coming from a farming community. And even these small regional differences, they lead to a big difference in the way people approach the management. So that's why I said in the beginning, it's very difficult to generalize something. But I think the most important thing is to understand where this correctness, this strive to be correct in political correctness comes from. Because it's, you know, the culture in Holland has been very much determined in the past by what we call Calvinism. And Calvinism was a type of the Protestant church, not Catholic, but the Protestant church. And they were they found it very important to display ethics. So this visual correctness does not actually always fall in line with what they're actually doing. So like if you have subordinates, suppose you have a team of 10, 15 people, the manager, the top manager will inform all these 15 people what he's expecting of them. And then he will be collecting all their opinions and attitudes. But in the end, he will make the decision. But he does that in order to give all these people the feel that they are reaching consensus by letting them give their views, bring their views forward and take them into account. But in the end, it might be very, very hierarchical, and he may actually push a decision, but at least he has given his ear to the people, which is a little bit, it's like a paradox, you know. But visually, of course, then it seems like you are reaching consensus because you're inquiring everybody's opinion, while at the same time you're still autocratic to a certain extent. And these kind of differences are very widespread in Holland. Especially, in your introduction, you've been talking about globalization. And you know, nowadays, because of all the things that are happening around populism in Europe, people are still looking for political correctness, in the sense that you have to have, your management team has to include gender equality. So now it's by law, people are required to have as many women in the board as men. So if you have a banking corporation, until now, if there were 10 people in the management of a bank, they would all be men. Now, the most progressive banks have like maybe 3 out of 10 people who are female. So that's still a majority of 7 men towards 3 women. Now the law says that it has to be 5 men, 5 women. That again also has its impact on culture, because in our experience, female managers have a total different way of communicating than men. And of course, I'm not a woman, so I cannot say that, but I'm sure some of the ladies can comment on it, which is very interesting. And they say that it improves management, but it also means that if people come from a more orthodox society from outside, and they have to communicate with other managers from Europe, and all of a sudden the gender balance between those 2 groups of people is totally different, you will have to be able to adapt to it. Because then all of a sudden your partner in business will not be a male, but a female. So these are things to keep in mind. Well, I think this is one of the most important things I want to say, but I would like to hear some of the questions from the students. Is that possible? Have students been filing any questions? I'm losing contact. I'm not hearing anything.
No, it's not yours.
Ah, okay.
I think something wrong on Indonesia.
Oh.
Pak Yunizar suaranya hilang.
Pak Yunizar harus di-unmute, Pak.
Oke, oke, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's
Dr.
all right.
Han.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, there is a question from the participant. If you want to comment this question, the question is how Calvinism influenced the work ethics in the Netherlands. So I repeat, how Calvinism influenced the work ethics in the Netherlands. This question comes from Mr. Denny Susanto from Mitra Kasih High School, Banjarmasin.
Yeah. Well, the most important channel through which Calvinism started to influence ethics is when the political parties in Holland were based on religious columns. So you would have a Catholic party and a Protestant party, but if you have a Protestant party, then the Dutch Reformed Church also had to have its own party. So it's very pluralistic. Now, when these people entered the government, when they made policies, it was actually through the building of a party and participating in designing policies which laid down the rules for labor laws. And that's how these ethics came, you know, it's via. It's not as theocratic in the literal sense, but it was through official legislation that was born from political parties who were based on religious columns. So, for example, the working week used to be 6 days. People worked also on Saturday. Then, under the influence of socialism, they said, no, people in the weekend, people have to rest. So Saturday, no more work. Then Wednesday afternoons, you know, when the children were all from school, people should be at home. Otherwise, the children will be at home. So all these things have been slowly changing. But I think the influence is from the religion got a power base in the sense of political, the formation of political parties. And because it was so pluralistic, all these people had to find consensus among each other. So you could have one government with 3 different religions being represented in that government. You know, there's never been one party that was dominant, not even the Catholics. I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
you're
so
welcome.
Maybe you would like to continue your explanation. You still have 7 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. Well, there's one phenomenon which is very interesting, and this is also something which has come up recently, and that has to do with the fact that people are not in full-time employment anymore. They're called flexible workers, and it's a big advantage for companies, but it's also a problem. Because in Dutch culture, the fact that you are having a job position with a fixed salary is exactly in line with this avoiding risk. But at the same time, when you have employees that are that have a full-time position, they are not. You can't get rid of them anymore because you can't fire them. So if you want to build upon your team, you have to find. You cannot change the team. If you have flexible workers, you can pick out the cherries from the cake and make a new team with the perfect expertise, but you don't have to maintain them for a long period of time. And this is a struggle which is now going on, because demographically, the average age in Holland is, there are more old people than young people, demographically. So that means that the people who have a lot of experience but little knowledge of modern day dynamics, they are in a majority. But at the same time, the young people, they want to develop and they want to have the opportunities to fill these positions. And because they are flexible workers and because there's the employment rate, the unemployment rate is high, they don't get enough opportunities. And this is something like a paradox, because while you want your young people to develop and give them positions, there are not enough positions for these young people. So they make a lot of jokes about this in a school, because it also applies to the teachers' force. When we asked the panel of students, what do you think what do you think about your teachers? They said, well, the young teachers know more about the topic and they know more about the curriculum in terms of the latest developments. But in pedagogical sense, they are useless because they don't take time for you. They don't want to explain things 4 or 5 times. The older teachers, they don't know anything about modern technology, but pedagogically they are very good because they will sit down, they will listen to you, they will consult with you. And then you see this ambivalence between experience and modern technology. So this is something that also comes back in business. You know, when you have startup companies in ICT or modern media, you will find that it's very, very young people who are very dynamic. But when you talk about their business model, it's very, very, very narrow. Sometimes they have a lot of debt and have little turnover, but the ideas are great. When you do business with older people, they will find security important and the how do you call it, the buffers, the financial buffers. And this struggle is going on in Europe very much now between, actually it's a struggle between different age groups. The young lions, the angry young men who want to go advance, and then the people who are already settled and mature and they want to maintain society as it is. Okay. I would like to have more questions from the students. It's very interesting.
Yeah, actually, there is a special session for discussion, but anyway, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay, for come up to discussion with the participant, okay. Maybe we can give the opportunity to Pak Harlan. Yeah, so now is your turn, Pak Harlan. You also 20 minutes for presentation. So please welcome. Time is yours. Thank you, Dr. Hans. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Yunizar. And I would like the co-host to put up my slide, please. I think it's either Ibu Lina or whoever over there is holding it. Okay, looks like it's a little bit late, but let me just start. I believe both Hans and myself will, like it or not, we'll talk about Hofstede's theory.
Yeah.
So,
I already mentioned him, yeah.
Yeah, because he is the pioneer in doing this research. And when I was preparing my lecture material for today, I realized that so many of the experts in these fields are Europeans. Unlike in some other business fields, we have a lot of Americans or Anglo-Saxons. I think my material is being okay. Thank you very much, Pak Gur. Well, it's still not coming up. Sorry, something is missing.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
I can see it. It's in front of me now, so yeah.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yes,
okay,
this is
okay. This is for all the new students at MEM. Your first page should be the title of your lecture, and then you should have. Please go back. Please go back. One slide back. Yeah, and you should have the date, so it's easier for you to find, and the location and stuff. Okay, so welcome to the MEM new students, and I hope today's lecture is a little bit of beneficial to you. Next, please. Okay, now also you should have table of contents so everybody can know what the content of this lecture is about. And I put my content, and at the end, if this is a scientific lecture, you should have a reference so you can pursue more of this topic if you want. And hopefully the reference is enough. And I got a lot of help from your chair of program, Dr. Kurniawan. He sent me a lot of good books, so it's easier for me to find what I need. Okay, next please. Okay, basically probably you can read all of this in your reference. So I'm going to go next. Yeah, now why is it important? Well, right now the world is globalized, yeah? Means that even in Indonesia, you have AFTA, ASEAN Free Trade Associations, signed in 1992, and it should be in full force by 2010, but we see that it's not, yeah? There are still some trade barriers. However, you can see now, there are a lot of people coming in from ASEAN and also from other countries. You will see more foreigners working and a lot of more Indonesians working outside also. So this is what we will see more often. And one is because of fragmented production. This is a theory by Chin, Teo, and Pua, you can read. In the old days, when you learn about basic economics, you heard about classical comparative advantage theory. So each country will specialize in a production where the input is cheap because it's abundant. And then you have an improvement on that by Michael Porter, I think from Harvard, and he said competitive advantage, no longer comparative. Yeah? It means that basically probably using some of Paul Krugman's theory, agglomeration and scale economies, you can be specializing in anything as long as you can get cost advantage in it. Well, now with Chin, Teo, and Pua, they say that not only you specialize in certain industry, but probably you specialize only one part of the process. So you can see that, for instance, Mac computers, the batteries may come from Indonesia, and then it's assembled in Singapore, but some of the components come from China, let's say. It all depends on what stage of your industry is technologically, and also what stage your economy is. If you are still cheap in labor, there would be some assembling. If you are capital intensive, that would be the production of the raw material and stuff like that. So because of that, you like it or not, you will have people working all over the place on one product. So the product is still one handphone, let's say, but it is assembled coming from different parts. And in different countries, you do only a little part of that production process. Yeah? So because of that, it means that we like it or not, we are going to meet other people and we have to deal with other institutions. Yeah? And the theory says being global means you must be willing to learn new management cultures. That's what Pak Hans just mentioned. Yeah? Not only that people in Netherlands are different in doing business with Indonesians, but even in Indonesia itself, people from Sunda or Jawa might do things differently from people from Palembang or Batak. One is circumspect, very, very refined. One is direct. Yeah. If you don't know, you would think, oh, people from that tribe, they are very rude. Actually not. They're just different. And probably those tribes will think people from Java or Sunda, oh, they are very slow. Actually, no. We're just being circumspect. Yeah. Next, please. Hello. Well, anyway, the next one tells you the story of Geert Hofstede. And basically, he is the person who did the first research of intercultural and cross-cultural management. And you could see that his sample was 117,000 employees in 50 countries. So it was a big research. It is facilitated because IBM is a computer company, so they can crunch data really fast. Yeah? And you could see some of the points that he raised, the dimensions of cultural differences. And Pak Hans already said that, well, masculine society are different than feminine, for instance. Yeah? And there is uncertainty avoidance, avoiding risk. Some people are more comfortable with ambiguity, and some people would like everything straight. Okay, tell me what you want. This is what I want, something like that. Also, attitude toward time. Yeah, we know we have elastic time, ngaret-ngaret dikit, gitu ya. Some countries are very strict with time, but in this case, chronemics means whether your view is long-term or short-term. Yeah? So you can just read this. Next, please. Okay, now why is it relevant? Okay, I would like to give you some examples, yeah, because part of the topic of this seminar is practice, not just theory and research. Yeah? Research is done by Hofstede and his colleagues, and it's a Dutch, so he's from Netherland. His last position was in Maastricht, University of Maastricht, and this part is now the practice. Yeah. For instance, some countries are, or some cultures are more comfortable with open debate, and some silence is golden. You don't talk too much, you just listen, okay? If you are listening, it means that you are wise. Now, some countries, they expect you to talk a lot. So if you go to graduate school, master's degree or PhD in Netherlands, for instance, if professor asks you something, you are supposed to be able to answer. While in some cultures, if you talk a lot, the teacher says, is this guy trying to test me or what? You know, so it's different. Okay, now, I would like to give you an example of how the Americans, because I live in the US for 15 years, and let's say Japan, because I've been to Japan 3 times for training and stuff, treat their labor differently. Okay, this is just cultural difference. In America, management is #1. Because you can change your labor easily, but the management, that's the core of the corporations. So if anything happens, if you need to cut costs, the first thing that will go are labor, cut the labor. So it's very risky for the side of labor because they can be cut easily. Okay? When this labor cutting is happening, all the privileges of management is intact. So it's very strange for some people. Now, you see, this is strange for some people that all the managers are still driving very nice cars. They are still flying in first class. They still get all their perks. At the same time, labor force is being cut. That's different in Japan. In Japan, if you have, if you need to cut costs because of competition, let's say from Korea or from China, for instance, everybody get salary cut, but no one is fired. So it's more secure for the labor, okay? Which for Americans, that's so strange, okay? So there is nothing wrong with this. It's just different culture do differently. So if you would like to be able to relate with other cultures, you have cross-cultural competence or the C3, CCC. Basically, you must be more flexible in your outlook. You should not be ethnocentrist. You decide, you judge everybody else by your standard, okay? Because they will also do the same. And if you think that you are better, they think they are better. And that is going to create conflict, yeah? So you should be more relaxed in your social attitudes, yeah? Ethnocentrism basically think that you judge other by your standards, which is not wrong. It will be wrong if you think that your standards are superior. For instance, we say, wait, Koreans eat dogs, come on, okay? But Korean says, oh, you guys are eating beef, why? You know, so it's just different. Different is not wrong, it's just different, yeah? And if you are going to be culturally competent, you just have to accept that. Okay, next, I think that probably would be my last for this one. Okay, now this is some of the criticism to cross-cultural management and its limitation. Turn out that cross-cultural competence does not exist in vacuum. It is inextricably, you cannot take it out of some other skills, for instance, language skills, because cross-cultural management depends a lot on cross-cultural communication. So our people, our friends from FICOM probably will be able to talk about this. So basically, practice shows that if you understand their language, probably most of your problems already gone. you know their speech. Do you know the way that they talk about these things? Most of your management problem already gone because you can give command now in the appropriate way. In some countries, they would like you to be assertive. Do this. In some countries, they would like you to be egalitarian. Okay, what do you think? Shall we do this? Okay. And also, it really relates a lot with socio-geographical knowledge, your knowledge of the region you are in. If you know that, probably your cross-cultural management problems already probably 90 or 80% gone. So these days, multinational corporations, for instance, Johnson & Johnson, which is 100 meters from where I'm sitting, yeah, and DuPont, also they have an office in Leiden, although both of them have headquarters in the US, yeah, in America. They have what they call cross-cultural training. So you should not depend only on common sense, because what is correct in your common sense may be incorrect in other countries, okay? So at the 3 points bottoms, if you want to know, those are the critics about cross-cultural management. I like the one from Anwit. This is new, 2012. They say business runs by logic, not emotion. So cultural values have only trivial role. Basically, you say, you like my way, you do it. If not, I'll fire you, okay? But of course, I think Hofstede would say this will create a lot of friction, yeah? So basically, actually, if you read the literature, they say that even in research, cross-cultural management is still controversial, yeah? Some people say something like Anwit. Some people say, no, it's like Hofstede. You have to have cross-cultural training. Based on my own experience working in international business consultant in Moran-Stahl & Boyer back in Boulder, Colorado in 1990s, I realized that cross-cultural training is important. Yeah? So that's the end. Yeah, thank you very much, Yunizar. And now I'm open for questions.
Okay, thank you, Harlan. I think we all agree that when we learn cross-cultural management, we should not forget Hofstede. We should understand the Hofstede concept, right? And it is interesting also, it was mentioned both by Dr. Hans and Harlan that in the Netherlands, there is a different culture, different cities, different culture. Similar also in Indonesia, Pak Harlan mentioned that people from Palembang will be different with people from West Java. Maybe people from North Sumatra, from Batak, also will be different with people who stay in Bogor or come from Bogor. Even though I think it's not prohibited if people from Batak marry people from Bogor. Yeah? I think it's not prohibited. Even though maybe their children will be called as Batagor. Yeah, it's no problem. Yeah. As long as they love each other,
Nice
no problem.
Morning.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have come to we have some question here. There is a long question from Aurora Wicaksono. Yeah. Okay. Hello. I wanna ask to Mr. Hans, to Dr. about how to adjust baby boomer gen or baby boomer generation and Z generation, where are different habits and different ideas. In this case, it could be in the scope of work due to opens to each other, resulting in conflict. I mean, how to handle that position and the conflict itself. I think that is question for this statement. Yeah? How to handle the position and the conflict itself between these different generation.
Well, this
Dr. Han, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. No, I understand the question.
Yeah.
now what happens in Europe is that the company has to fit the profile which is expected of them. So that's why I gave the example of the female on the board of the bank. The same thing happens now with young people and their ideas. It depends on the central management of a company has to provide room for these people. And if they do not do that, it will give them a negative press. So through time, I think that the young people will get a chance, but only if it is forced. It will not go in a natural way. There will have to be what we call the leaders of the pack. So some companies will be very dynamic and insert those people because it needs a change of mentality. And the change of mentality in traditional business people is very, very, very slow. And I think it stems from this risk avoidance to a certain extent. But now, the most important thing right now is what they call thinking out of the box, new ideas. And you need young people to do that. So now, one of the ways to do that is to insert quota. You know, not just like with the women, you can say, okay, if I build my team, I'm going to insert an age group. I'm a representation of every age group. So you will have people in their 20s, people around between 25 and 30, 35, and they will all bring their own ideas from that specific generation, but you have to invest in it in time. Now, the quota system is not something which is legally possible, but you can do it normative. So you will have some companies in Holland that say, okay, we want 50% of our workforce to be below 30 years old, because then I know I will be able to tap. To give you an example, we have in the recruitment department of our school, which is a big polytech, the recruitment department does everything with video compilations, everything. That whole department consists of 20 people. The age of these people is between age group represented. So you see that somebody has used the strength of that specific generation and inserted it into a professional situation. I think that is one of the, but it needs a change of mindset. It has to be fought. It's not going to come automatically, no.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hans.
You're welcome.
Yes, yeah, I'm baby boomer. Actually, I'm baby boomer, but I try to have lifestyle as
you have to make way for the younger generation.
Yeah. Actually, sometimes I should work hard to understand millennial generation, how to harmonize our relationship between them. Okay, thank you, Dr. Hans. And next question. Oh iya, yang lain mohon izin Pak Kurniawan, kalau ada yang mau bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia silakan saja ya. Mungkin bisa kita bantu, mudah-mudahan bisa kita bantu. Ya. Next question from Mahalina. Mahalina is student from Magister Management, I think. Dear Mr. Han, dear Dr. Hans, many studies reveal that the type of Western workers are tending to show risk-taking while they are having a challenge in their job. On the other side, the Eastern workers show risk-averse traits. So the difference between worker in
I didn't understand the question.
Oh,
not
can you?
Yet. No,
you can check in the chat, Pak Hans.
In the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
I just read first in the chat. So I repeat. Many studies reveal that the type of Western workers are tending to show risk-taking while they are having a challenge in their job. On the other side, the Eastern workers show risk-averse trait. So is this big sense to make a generalization based on those studies when it comes to doing project management? How is your opinion about workers who possess different mindset regardless of their geographic background? I think this question also not so different with the previous question, right? But in the different point of view, both Western and Eastern.
Well, the way I don't know if this is actually applicable to the situation in Holland as I know it. when you see, if you formulate it like this, when they're having a challenge in their job, then the risk-taking follows the fact that you want to overcome that challenge. But it's not like risk-taking in the sense of, you know, when you have nothing to lose, then you have to do it. So when I talked about these flex workers, you know, that do not have a regular job, they will be more inclined to take a risk because simply they want to gain that position. And if you see, because they are flex, they don't have a long-term contract. So if you get an assignment for 3 months or 6 months and you take risks, then you know when you win, then you win. If you lose it, then in 3 months' time you would have gone anyway. So the other thing, the Eastern workers show risk-averse traits. I don't know what is meant by Eastern workers. Do they talk about Eastern Europe, or are they talking about Asia? Because
I think they talk about Oriental.
Or no, well, that one I could not. I don't know because I don't have enough experience with with Asian people.
Okay.
The risk taking, the risk taking of Western workers is only within the context of the assignment. That's how I experience it. Not so much in jeopardizing your own position. How is your opinion about workers who post different mindsets? Well, that's exactly what I said in my introduction. You know, it's impossible to generalize because the mindset may be determined by a geographical background, but because of communication, everything evolves. It's not a static thing. It's a dynamic thing.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Is it okay, Mahalina? Or with the answer, maybe you want to express also your opinions?
Thank you, Yunizar, for the change. Could you hear my voice, or my voice is a little bit low?
No, it's very clear. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, because I have several times to study with my lecturer and then get some research from some studies, I think. When it comes to me to read about that research, it said that the Eastern that I point out in my comment is like Asia's worker, like Oriental worker, like Pak Harlan said. And for me, as I had some experience about this when it comes to me to work in the international environment, these issues become very, very important because my project manager always like choose for the people based on their traits or personalities. For example, when we have a challenge job, they prefer to choose for Western, or I mean like European, American, or something like that. But for Asian worker, they just give us like not so much challenging job, and that's my dilemma about this. So I have to ask about these questions in this discussion. So I hope that you can give me some insight about this.
Well, now I understand. If you formulate it this way, I understand it differently.
Yeah.
Now you're saying you're given an assignment, which is not challenging.
Yeah.
But then it would be in a different dimension. If you feel that the Eastern workers are not given challenging assignments, that means that the management actually does not trust your capabilities.
Okay. Yeah.
That's how I see it then. Yeah. Because in Europe, you know, it's like if you can actually, as a worker, you can ask for a challenging assignment. You could say, if you don't give me a challenging assignment, I won't work for you, because then it's not interesting. And then it becomes a question of trust.
Trust and ability.
Okay. Yeah, that's I relate this to trust and ability, but I thought you mentioned it from the perspective of the person, that you are willing to take risks, which is, you know, that's why I'm saying in the context of a job, if somebody asks me, let's say you have to market a new product, which does not exist yet.
Yeah.
Then you have to do market research and you have to think, okay, who is going to buy this product? You, as a marketeer, will be making that decision for the management.
Yeah.
So if you take the risk that, okay, maybe you selected the different target group and the target group is not coming to buy it, then you took a risk, because basically you're not selling it. But if it becomes a hit, that means you've faced the challenge and you overcame it, and then you get trust from the management.
Yeah.
That's how I see it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Hans.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay. So we have to develop ourselves, yeah, Mahalina, yeah, in order every people trust us, or in order we will be trusted by every people, either from Western or Eastern. Okay. Good luck, Mahalina. Okay. There is a wise word from Ibu Yulmolinis, yeah. Maybe everyone can read in the chat. Where the earth is stable, the sky is uphill. Maybe Pak Harlan can explain this wise word.
Well, okay, thanks. Probably this would be beneficial to Dr. De Bekker because it is a typical Western Sumatra saying. Basically,
Sorry, sinyal nih.
I'm losing Pak Harlan, is that right?
Yeah, I guess the signal from Pak Harlan is losing. Maybe we could continue first to other question if there is.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have still question? We have still much time actually. Our program will be end at 3 o'clock according to the schedule. So please welcome. If you want to make any comments, opinions, or question. Okay. Silahkan kalau akan ada yang ditanyakan. Ini mumpung kita punya kesempatan yang baik nih, ya, bertemu dengan Dr. Hans, ada Bekker sebagai ahli di bidang cross cultural management. Ya. Yang di chat ada lagi yang belum terjawab. Kalau saya terlewat. Oke. Oke. Pak Harlan is already join us. Belum ya? Oke. Okay, Dr. Hans, I have just simple question actually. So, what are competencies should be having by our student in order to be ready to challenge the cross-cultural management? Because they are now studying about cross-cultural management, maybe they should prepare. What are competencies that they should develop? Yeah.
I think one of the things which is also mentioned in management training in Europe nowadays is what they call the 21st century skills. And the 21st century skills have to do with, I don't know a good word for it in English, but I think it's called polyvalence. Polyvalence means that besides the knowledge you have about your work, that you are also able to communicate well, and that you are able to function in a group, and that you have ICT knowledge, which is up to standard, so that you don't, you know, not everybody has to be a whiz-kid, but you have to be independent in your knowledge. You have to negotiate. But the thing is that it's not one aspect. You have to have all these aspects at the same time. And of course, there's a lot of literature on the 21st century skills. I would advise the students to get that book and read about these things, because the multitasking that people will demand from you in the future, you know, that you are speak your languages and you can negotiate. Actually, when Pak Harlan said, you know, sometimes you have to listen, sometimes you have to talk. You have to be able to do both. And this is something in the direction of where I want to move. So don't limit your scope. Don't try to be a specialist on one field, but try to know a little bit of everything. And that is now one of the most demanded capabilities, competences that people require in doing a job. And maybe the key, Pak Harlan mentioned this in his speech, that the key is also language. You know, when you go to Europe, it's not necessary to learn Dutch, because Dutch is a terrible language. It's very, very difficult and it's impossible. But if you think your English is good, then you're wrong. yet. You.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Polyvalence. You look it up.
Yeah. So be prepared, because you are prepared to be global managers, our students, especially in magister science. So you have to be ready to be global managers. Yeah. Okay. There is still any questions?
Yeah, there is a question,
Silakan.
if I may, because it's sent privately. So, how to deal with the heterogeneity, Pak Hans? So, if you have very diverse students with multiple backgrounds, so how to deal with it? I mean, to make them in one side they are treated in the same way, they are not feeling left behind, one of them. So how to deal with the heterogeneity of students so they will feel in the same treatment without
Yeah.
any discrepancy or discrimination. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. This is one of the big problems. We have two situations collide. No, not collide. I should say that happen simultaneously. First of all, if you go to a polytech in Holland, you have 4 different types of prior education, which means that all these 4 groups, they enter polytech with a different level. Even though they're admissible, there are different levels. The second one is, of course, ethnic diversity. You know, we also have people from Africa and Asia, and they all have to fit together. Now, the most important thing is mutual respect. And you can only create mutual respect if you make these people exchange experience. So normally, what we do is that we ask students to, when they introduce themselves, they tell something about their background and their intrinsic motivation to study. And this happens during the introduction weeks. So the students, you know, they will be in the same classroom. There's about 35 people in the same classroom, and they're going to be together for 4 or 5 years. So normally, what the teachers try to do is to avoid people from forming groups and staying apart. So it's the communication between these small groups that ensures that the mutual respect. But if it doesn't go by itself, you have to organize it. So it's not like forcing it upon these people, but to invite them to tell something about their intrinsic motivation of why they chose that curriculum and they came to this school. And we do that during the formation weeks. The introduction weeks are very, very important in the beginning. That's why now, because of Corona, we have a problem, because there's people in the same classroom which only see each other 1 day a week. And for the other one, they're only online, and they hate it. Everybody hates it because it avoids communication. This would be that's how I would solve the problem anyway. Try to solve it. Thank you, Pak Kurniawan.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Han. Okay. There is still question. We still have time actually, so we can utilize our time until 3 o'clock. Maybe you want to have comment. Oh, this one from Rizka. You can read in the chat from Rizka. Mr. and Harlan. Based on your experience, does digitalization have impact on CCC or CCM, or did digitalization just make a DCC or seem more complex? Yeah.
Well, I've only come across this. I've only come across this in one situation, which I remember very well. When my school acquired a customer relationship management system, the architect was by consultants in India. And these people did not visit Holland physically. They were always working at a distance. And we found that the fact that you never have a face-to-face meet where you can have, you know, tone of voice, informal communications, and you lose the nuances, it became very difficult because they got semantic problems all the time. For the data architect to explain the working of the system only digitally, so either by email or by phone or by graphics, it was not possible to do it. So eventually we got some middlemen, some people that came to the work floor, actually talked to the people and sat next to them in a computer and pointed out how the interfaces were built, what they didn't like about it. So I'm an old man, you know, I'm a little bit suspicious about digitalizing everything, because now during Corona, we found out that the physical contact and the face-to-face communication in the body language, informal communication, tone of voice is very, very important, because it gives you more information than only from text, from Twitter or email or Zoom meetings, or, you know, it gets lost. It's lost in translation. So I think it makes it more complex. I do not think that digitalization makes it easier. No, I don't believe it. But that's my personal opinion.
Thank you, Dr. Hans. Okay. How is Rizka? You get the point? Pak Harlan is not joined yet because of trouble in signal.
Yeah, the connection is Pak Harlan is he's still trying to reconnect. But,
okay.
Pak,
Maybe let.
Pak,
Yeah, sorry.
I have a question.
Okay, please.
Is it still possible for me to ask question?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
of course, by all
yeah.
means.
Oh, yeah, I'm interested in your topic about specialization and generalization that you once mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, about generalization. Is it true that the people or the workers now must have many skills for working, and it means that they have a generalization skill, like multi-skill for doing things, and it makes them success in their job? Thank you.
No, not yet. When I'm talking about these 21st century skills,
Yeah.
it is like a new phenomenon. When we have influx of new students, and we made one new curriculum, which was called business studies, and it had all these components that I just mentioned about learning other languages and learning to negotiate and learning to write text communication. And then the students said, we are not interested. And I said, look, you're reversing the problem now. If the companies want people who are capable of multitasking, and you tell me that you're not interested because you want to do only one thing, then you're missing the boat.
Yeah.
So it's still also a question of changing the mentality of the young people. But the fact that the companies need flexible workers who can do more multitasking is it's already started. So no, I feel that most of the young people are not yet capable of 21st century skills in a wider sense. No, not yet.
Okay.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You know, we offered. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. One question, please. Okay. I give one question
Harlan is
before
back.
we. Oh, Pak Harlan is already joined. Okay, Pak Harlan, can you continue to explain what Ibu Maulin wrote in the chat? But where the earth is stable, there the sky is uphill. Ibu Yul. Harlan?
Unmute, Pak. Unmute, sorry, Pak.
Di unmute. Itu mic-nya belum dibuka, Pak Harlan. Pak Harlan, mic-nya belum dibuka.
Udah belum? Can you hear me now?
Udah jelas.
Yes.
Ya, oke.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, Professor. So I was trying to explain to Dr. De Bekker that the meaning of what Ibu Yul Maulini
the proverb.
Is that if you are in Rome, do as the Romans do. Basically, that's what she said. Yeah. So
I get it.
in Indonesia, it says di mana bumi dipijak, di situ langit dijunjung, or wherever you are, you have to behave as the locals. So I think that comment is really spot on. If you would like to be successful in a certain culture, well, you have to learn more about that culture so that you can communicate and you can manage better. I think that's what she's trying to say. That's all.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Harlan. Okay, if there is any question. Okay, just one more question, Dr. Han. if
Yes, please.
from participant does not get question. So if you want to do business with people from the maybe friend, what's and we should not do yeah, in order to be success in our business. Yeah.
Well, it's like I said in the beginning. It's people. Dutch people can be very direct. So in the beginning, when don't be offended by direct questions. Try to anticipate. Dutch people are very, very pragmatic. So if you want a discussion about conditions of delivery, or you want to talk about price differences, or about what the profit you want to make, try to be try to be as specific as possible. There's one thing a Dutch person doesn't like, and that's a question mark. So if you say, oh, maybe we can have a win-win situation, and he thinks that he's only getting 15% where it should be 10, or it should be 20%, and he's only getting 15, those things should be out. You know, it has to be transparent to the extent that he can anticipate what he's getting out of it. And this looks very, sometimes non-diplomatic. It seems very, if you explicit the components of your business deal to the extent that the other person knows exactly what to expect, this is again the risk avoidance from Hofstede, then you'll be able to be successful. So don't come with a vague plan. All I'm trying to say. You know, question marks for Dutch people it's too vague.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Han. So before I close this session, at the beginning of Dr. Han presentation, Dr. Han mentioned the theory can be read in the book, but the reality is really different. Okay, jadi reality itu tidak seindah teori yang dibaca di buku, gitu ya, Bapak Ibu sekalian. Tapi sesulit apapun kita menghadapi berbagai situasi, orang bijak mengatakan, bukan orang bijak lah, pernah saya baca, belajarlah dari bulu ketek, walaupun dalam keadaan terhimpit, di tempat yang tidak mengenakan, tapi hendaknya tetap tegar bertahan dan terus tumbuh secara konsisten. Barangkali itu yang bisa saya sampaikan ya. So, thank you Dr. Han, thank you Pak Harlan, thank you all participant. Yeah, so I will give it back to Pak Dr. Kurniawan. Yeah, thank you, and I would like to apologize for any inconvenience during this session. Okay, thank you. Silahkan Pak Kur. Ini waktunya tinggal 5 menit.
Yes, thank you very much. For the moderator, Pak Dr. Yunizar, really appreciate for your help by moderating the sessions today. And of course, I would like to thanks to Pak Dr. Hans de Bekker and Pak Harlan Isjwara MA, who have been given their interesting presentation and discussions, answers, particularly for also a very good and interesting question from the participants. So I would like, in this context, I would like to thanks to all the participants who are coming, not only from Bandung. Here we have also Professor Maman Kusman from the Faculty of Economics and Business. We have also Professor Dwi Kartini. Thank you for coming. And then, of course, the students and also participants from almost all over Indonesia, Pak Hans, for your information. There are some from if you Mataram, and then also from I can see Bengkulu, but yeah, at the moment we don't have from Papua, Pak Hans, because I know you are dreaming to travel to Papua. That's what I understand. So hopefully maybe next time we will have a participant from Papua. This memory that you would like one day.
My earliest memory.
Okay, thank you very much. So once again, I would like to thank you. Before I close the webinar, to all participants.
Ini ada, halo, Pak Kur.
Yes.
Ini ada dari Pak Harlan ini mau demonstrate one
good example. For the last words, right? But before that, I would like to tell to the all participants, please, you can put your name on the attendance list, and then the e-certificate will be sent to your emails as your name put in the attendance list. So, Pak Harlan.
Oke, thank you. Tadi ketika Profesor Maman Kusman bicara, saya lihat cara duduk beliau, jadi saya ingat nih, ini ada kasus ya. So we have this example. And this is very important because the effect on intercultural negotiation is how you can sit. Okay, hopefully you can see that in my. Okay, this is how Americans sit, right? Can you see that? Yeah. So they put their feet across their one foot across the other. It means that okay, I'm sitting this way means that I'm not going away, I'm listening to you. So that's what the Americans are doing. But Japanese sits this way. Yeah, because they are used to sit this way on the floor, right?
On the knees, on the tatami. Yeah.
So can you see, this is how Japanese sits on the tatami, right? So when sits on a chair, they will sit exactly like that, this way. Yeah. So when the Japanese see the Americans sitting like this, they think, oh, this guy is not being polite to me because he's sitting very relaxed, right? So he is not serious. While the Americans meant to say that, hey, I'm sitting relaxed, it means that I'm listening to you. While you sitting this way, yeah, yeah, it means as if you are going to stand up. You are not patient. You want to go up and go. If you are relaxed, you will sit this way, right? So that's what I told Pak Kur. Oh, I have an experience of intercultural communication with really affect our negotiation. Yeah. So that's all. That's my acrobatic for today. Thank you very much, Pak Kur. And thank you for Professor Maman because he reminds me of that.
Okay, very interesting, Pak Harlan, and it's very important, of course, because yeah, I thought I just know that that's the way how American men that they are to talk, while for other cultures it means that you're not really serious by sitting in that way. So it's really interesting. So once again, I would like to thank to our distinguished speakers, Professor Pak Dr. Bekker, Pak Harlan Dimas MA, and our moderator, Pak Dr. Yunizar, and also to all the participants who are coming from different regions in Indonesia. On behalf of the Master Program in Management Science, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Padjadjaran, we would like to thank you for the attendance, for participating in this webinar. Please, again, if you would like to have the e-certificate, please put your name on the attendance list on the link which is provided by our co-host. And then we will send the e-certificate through each of your emails. And then hopefully we could see you again in another sessions webinar because we are preparing to have it every month. Now we are flying from Indonesia to the Netherlands. Maybe next time we are flying to Africa, where in fact Pak Bekker really knows because he has been staying in Africa for almost 10 years consecutively, 20. But in total 20 years. So sometimes because Pak Hans know African than Dutch, so that's also that experience which Pak Hans have in his life. So once again, I would like to thank you, and again we would like to have a round of applause. Otherwise, through webinar, through online, but I thank you very much. We really appreciate for your contributions, and we are hoping that you still are willing to share with us in the next time. So,
Pak Kurniawan,
please.
I want to ask, yes, if any of the students want to ask more questions later on, you can give them my email.
Okay, thank you
And
very
I'll
much.
answer the questions by email. So,
Yeah.
because maybe when they come home, they will think of something and then
Yeah.
the webinar is over, but always willing to answer questions.
Okay, so I put your email in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for your generous offer, Pak Hans. So those who
Yes.
are still having questions, you can send email to Pak Hans, and Pak Hans almost check his email every day. So hopefully he will answer you further about, especially for the cross-cultural competency and cross-cultural management. Once again, thank you very much. Good afternoon and see you again next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Terima
warahmatullahi
kasih.
wabarakatuh.
Good job. Goed gedaan. MEM.
Goed gedaan, Yogi. Yeah.
Bye, Hans. Have a
Yo.
nice day. Go to
Thank
your
you.
wedding. To
Yes,
your friend's wedding.
Terima kasih.
Yeah.
Thank you so
well.
much, udah Harlan.
Thank you, Ibu Lina Marina.
Harlan lagi di mana sekarang?
Saya lagi di Belanda,
Harlan,
Pak.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Kapan main sini, Pak? Saya siap jadi guide.
Oke. Terima kasih.
Kayaknya
kasih,
Bapak ini
Prof.
sehat-sehat ya, Pak. Kayaknya masih tetap gagah gitu. Alhamdulillah.
Ya, alhamdulillah. Terima kasih Pak
Prof.
Hans
Maman.
Bekker.
Ya, nanti
Ya,
Pak Hans juga bahasa Tom benar, Prof. Tom benar is from
Oke.
Leiden as well.
Ya,
that's
oke.
it. Yeah.
Trom benar.
Terima kasih.
Ya.
Bye. Oh, may leave now.
Bye.
Baik.